Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us in remembering Carol Gay, a great activist, leader, and friend. The IUC originally planned this program in the hope Carol would be with us to enjoy it. Unfortunately, it has become a memorial. But Carol did not want us to mourn. Her last words were, "Forward ever, backward never." We prepared this program in that spirit. We will celebrate her lifetime's work for economic and social justice, for peace, and for a healthy environment, with music and memories that we hope will inspire us to continue her work. We'll begin with a Radical Carol medley. Carols are celebratory songs, not necessarily linked to a holiday season. Please join the Solidarity Singers as we celebrate Carol with carols. The lyrics should be displayed on the walls. Are they up there? Hello, we need this. They're up there, okay. So we'll begin. Henry, give us the starting note we all need. Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Joy to the world, Carol Gay is here to lead us in our fight. The fight for higher wages has been with us for ages, but with Carol leading the way, we'll have our victory day, and workers throughout the land will all rejoice. It's time for workers to unite to fight the 1% and organize against corporate greed, the 99%. Carol's among the leaders of the fight we all must lead, as we all organize against corporate greed, as we all organize against corporate greed. Come brothers, come sisters, come join us in the struggle against corporations and plutocracy. Come on out and picket, rally, lobby, organize, join Carol in the struggle, join Carol in the struggle, join Carol in the struggle, and we will prevail. Carol knew when they went out to organize progressives. Doubters they were all about, with their second guesses. But she kept on keeping on, working many hours. And when the fight came to an end, victory was The Solidarity Singers of the New Jersey State Industrial Union Council, which Carol co-founded. And thank you all for singing. Throughout, we're going to have the lyrics up here, and with one exception, they're all good sing-along songs, so sing along, at least on the choruses. We really appreciate it. Okay, I'd like to introduce Reverend Amos Cayley, who's the pastor of worship and faith engagement here at the Reformed Church of Highland Park. We're very grateful to this church for providing us with this beautiful space. And they also host the Solidarity Singers rehearsals every few weeks. So, Reverend Amos.
Thank you. It's truly such an honor to be asked to host this event. We do lots and lots of funerals and memorial services here in this space, but this is really, really, really unique and special. I was talking to Bennett prior to the service, and he was like, listen, Carol was not like a person of faith. And I was like, because here in this church, in this community, we sort of understand, and I knew what Bennett was saying, but we understand what it means to be a person of faith as a person who has faith and lends their action to a better world, to a vision, what we would consider to be God's perfect vision of peace and justice on earth. And to me, Carol Gay was indeed a person of faith in that kind of definition, and has in many ways blazed trails for all of us. So I'm Amos. I'm one of the pastors here at the church. We have two other co-pastors, and one of whom really knew Carol well. And he couldn't be here. Pastor Reverend Seth Copperdale is one of the other pastors here, and he really, really wanted to be here but had a prior engagement. So he wrote something that he asked me to share with you this afternoon. My name is Seth Copperdale. My wife, Stephanie, and I, and Amos Cayley are the pastors at RCHP. I'm sorry I cannot be with you today, but I've asked Amos to share these words. In September of 2016, frustrated by the New Jersey Democrats endorsing Phil Murphy before the primary campaign season started, I decided I would run for governor. I was furious about immigration-related policies nationally and upset with New Jersey's heavy participation in the detention and deportation machine. And I thought, at the very least, someone to the left of Murphy should keep the heat on regarding immigration until the November 2017 election. Without someone to the left, I was afraid he'd slide to the middle on immigration, which the mistreated immigrant population of New Jersey and the nation could ill afford. I ran with the Green Party. I'd always thought of myself as a progressive, but I quickly realized, compared to truly seasoned progressives, I was like a rookie, untrained on most topics of import. It was my religious roots that took me to liberating and progressive angles on things, but I didn't have the experience or training for a deep understanding of all sorts of very important issues. I had so much to learn about almost every battlefront in New Jersey, including labor, healthcare, environmental, the school-to-prison pipeline, but I was open, malleable, teachable, and I think Carol Gay saw that in me. From the first time we talked, she was both encouraging me and educating me. Without ever making me feel stupid, she gave me information and connections to help me better understand the issues that needed to be fought for in New Jersey. By early August of 2017, I was pretty exhausted, having campaigned 9 months at a pace of 3 events a week. I told my campaign manager, please don't put anything on my schedule without clearing it with me. I've got to protect some nights for my family and my day job, the church. On August 10th, I received the following email from Jeff Herzog. Hey, as much as we all want house parties coordinated, I could not say no to Carol Gay for her house in Brick on Friday, the 25th of August. Calendar open. Of course, I said. I loved that evening. I loved visiting with some of the most progressive and kind people I'd met during a year of campaigning. I met people who truly understood universal health care, who continued to sharpen my understanding of labor issues, people who were grateful that we were talking about lead in the water, and who were encouraging about our fight to make New Jersey a sanctuary state. Carol's friends, like Carol herself, were super smart and seasoned, and yet open to me and all newcomers as we stepped our toes into the more progressive spaces in New Jersey. The atmosphere there was lively and bright. There was singing. Carol was the host, and her table, her home, was filled with people who stood for the things that, from my faith perspective, represent the teachings of Jesus, to bring radical forms of love on earth that represent the way of heaven. I didn't know Carol as well as many of you did, and yet, as I flipped through emails from the past 20 years, hundreds came up where Carol was partnering and collaborating on matters regarding housing, the environment, labor, immigration, incarceration. I will remember the particular moments in 2017 when Carol took me under her wing a bit, but I'll remember more that she did that with everyone. And I'll remember that she seemed to be present in every fight, in every insight, in every song that had to do with justice in New Jersey for as long as I've ever heard her name. Thanks be to God for Carol Gay. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Reverend Cayley. Our next speaker really doesn't need an introduction, so I'll be extremely short. Larry Cohen was the past president of CWA on the international level, and he is presently the chair of Our Revolution, and he was willing to take some time away from the campaign to come here today. For purposes of what's in Carol's life, he was the person who led the State Workers Organizing Committee, of which Carol was a member, and they organized, I guess it was in 78 and 79 and 80, 32,000 state workers into CWA, probably the most successful public worker organizing campaign in history. So it's a pleasure for me to introduce Larry Cohen.
Thanks, Bennett. And as Bennett has said already, Carol's final message was forward ever. Nothing stopped Carol, and she always had room for another struggle for justice, as we just heard a list of so many. Social justice of all kinds. And in the 45 years I knew her, her vision of social justice always grew broader. She loved leading the IUC, no matter how challenging that was or how difficult the cause. When necessary, Carol could battle Chris Christie or anyone else. She called out Democrats who wouldn't support Medicare for all, and labor leaders who gave up on a broader working class vision. In the late 70s, I first met Carol at a CWA New York, New Jersey public sector meeting. A couple people are here who would have been there. Our State Workers Organizing Committee was still small and mostly Trenton-based. At that time, she was a social worker at the Camden County Welfare Board and the vice president of her CWA local. When she heard about SWOC, as we called it, and our efforts to build a new union, modeled more after the CIO, grassroots, worksite-based, she jumped at the chance to help. When our organizing took off and CWA's support became vital, Carol took a leave of absence from her job, and she played a major role in winning union recognition, as you heard, for more than 30,000 state workers and actually thousands of local government workers as well. Carol's role was critical, helping to convince hundreds of activists that CWA would support member-based unionism, led by shop stewards in the workplace, and pointing to her own experience as a social worker activist in CWA as proof that that could be done, member-led. In 1979 and today, overcoming doubt that real change is possible holds back organizing as much as the real opposition of bosses or right-wingers. Carol's leave of absence became permanent when she was appointed a national union rep in 1981. And for nearly 30 years, she held various positions in CWA, including New Jersey director. She helped lead negotiations in a wide range of public and private sector bargaining. She supported new organizing. She helped lead coalitions with other unions and organizations on a wide range of issues. After retiring from CWA, it was not a normal retirement. She led the Industrial Union Council, the successor to the New Jersey CIO. As many here know, when the CIO and AFL merged nationally in 1955, there was no merger in New Jersey. New Jersey was very much a manufacturing state, and organizing drives like Singer Sewing Machine in Elizabeth, imagine this, where 12,000 workers organized and regularly filled the armory where they met. That was a legendary local, right down the road in New Jersey. AFL leadership here at that time was conservative at best. And auto, chemical, electrical, steel, telephone operators, teachers in Newark and the state colleges kept the IUC going. We named the State Workers Organizing Committee SWOC deliberately after the Steelworkers Organizing Committee, known as SWOC, that later became the United Steelworkers of America. In the late 70s, Trenton was still a center for steel and other manufacturing. And in so many ways, our focus on shop steward leadership, social justice, community and political organizing was IUC inspired. We were mentored by IUC leaders who themselves had been active in the early CIO. Carol lived that tradition, but in a time, our time, when that vision had sadly faded. But as always, Carol was persistent and relentless. In 2011, when she became president of the IUC, she drew on the spirit of Arab Spring and was actually there. Madison, Wisconsin, and then Occupy Wall Street, always looking for ways to bring back the spark of radical labor and movement building. At times, she would plow forward, undaunted and outnumbered, but always forward. Today was planned, as you heard, as a day to sing with her and her beloved Solidarity singers. She would want us to sing out loudly as possible and marching forward ever. And as Lee Hayes and Pete Seeger wrote in a song then popularized by Peter, Paul, and Mary, she swung the hammer of justice, she rang the bell of freedom, and she sang a song about love between our brothers and sisters all over this land.
Thank you so much for those wonderful remarks, Larry. We're not going to sing that one. We're not going to sing that one, but we're going to sing one that Woody Guthrie wrote in singing with Pete Seeger, certainly, and I think Lee Hayes eventually got to be in the Almanac Singers as well, popularized. It's union made, and you certainly got to sing the chorus with us. You can't scare me, I'm sticking to the union. I think the words are up, right? They're up, okay, good. I just got to sit down. Saturday Singers now. If you want to be, just drop me an email and we will put you on our mailing list. Show up to rehearsals and stuff. Okay. Our next singer is another union maid, one of New Jersey's leading union maids, who's also a past state director of CWA in New Jersey. It is now just organizing where she chooses. It's my pleasure to introduce Hetty Rosenstein.
I'm a little short for this. So I'm gonna move it a little.
You want me to adjust it?
No, I think I got it.
Okay.
So I had a lot of trouble with this. It took me a lot of weeks to kind of figure out what I wanted to say. But in light of our common struggle of today, I'm going to ask your indulgence. And instead of eulogizing Carol, as others are going to do with much greater eloquence than I'm going to do a little political analysis and speak of the lessons and gifts that we learned from her life and what she shared with us and what we need in order to face a very uncertain future. You know, Carol became active in our union and in organizing the public sector at a time when, in many ways, the labor movement was in collapse. The air traffic controllers were fired, plants were closing, replacement workers were breaking strikes, and concessionary bargaining was the order of the day. But Carol was seeking to build a militant and vibrant public sector union in New Jersey, here with Larry, and out of that work came the building and rebuilding of the IUC, the creation of New Jersey Citizen Action, the blooming of CWA state workers, the AFT College Council of Professors, the fight to divest public pensions from South Africa. We were the first to do that. And in the middle of the Reagan era, and plant shutdowns, we were passing right-to-know legislation, plant closing legislation, divesting from South Africa, and getting a progressive income tax out of a Republican governor. And this was only possible because we focused on finding common ground among working class people in their communities, not just labor unions, but faith-based, civil rights, environmental, issue-based, and we did our work together, and we were consciously aware that we did not have the power alone, that we only had that power if we worked together and if we worked through organization. And then the attacks came, serious attacks. The IUC was purged from the state AFL-CIO. Its grants were cut. Private sector union electeds blamed public workers for high taxes. Unions were told, don't support New Jersey Citizen Action, working families, New Jersey policy and perspective. In fact, they created AstroTurf organizations rather than have those organizations. So why on a day to eulogize Carol Gay do I bring this up? Why discuss this? Because those of us who are fighting for justice in our lives and in this struggle to wrench power from the powerful and share it among the people must recognize some fundamental truths that Carol understood and lived. We are not strong enough alone, not as labor, not as moral faith, not as civil rights. We are not strong enough, and to the extent that we protect our turf or even our special issues, If we do not cleave together whenever possible to build power, our adversaries will pit their strengths against our weaknesses. We need to be part of living, breathing organizations that continue, not as individuals, because, in fact, individuals are mortal. Individuals pass. And if we imbue in individuals the power, as opposed to our movement, as opposed to our organizations, then in fact we lose power when they pass, instead of building upon the gifts that they gave us and what they taught us. If we are part of a broader justice movement, we must always work to bring unity to that movement, not division. And it doesn't mean that we allow parts of our movement to be shunned or isolated. It means we stand with others when it's painful. It means we have painful conversations among ourselves, even when it's difficult. But we always, always recognize that we have to keep our organizations and that fighting fascism does come first. Carol Gay was not always successful in every list of things that we said, but she was always trying. She was always trying to support a movement for justice above all, trying to maintain an organization, the legacy of the IUC. And just weeks before she died, she was worried most about where would the files go, where would the archives go, how would we maintain that history, how would we maintain the organization, because it mattered. We are going to need great courage to face the next several years, and maybe even the next several months. And if we are afraid to stand up for each other, we aren't going to be able to stand up to some very frightening adversaries. And if organizations that have power and resources do not respect and support smaller organizations, they won't make it, and we need them. And if smaller organizations and individuals turn away allies that we need because they have imperfect ideology, then we won't make it either. We need all our allies. And in Carol's name, I ask you today to be fearless as we face an oncoming hurricane that will not be stopped just by perfect ideology or because we are right, or by door knocking, and maybe not even by an election. I will not mince words and tell you just carry it on and we will win. We may not. But I will tell you that in the face of the worst, she would be here with us and would be building organizations and trying to unite people, not divide them, to face what is in front of us fearlessly. She would say, use all of our courage, all of our resources, all of what we have learned and know. She would and will be shoulder to shoulder with us as we do not go quietly into that dark night.
Thank you, Hetty. It's now my pleasure to turn the next part of the program over to Carol's family. Carol, whenever she visited her family, they would spend a lot of time around the table singing. And they're going to begin with what we're calling the Carol's Family Carolers. And they'll lead you in This Land Is Your Land. I hope the lyrics are up there. So I'd like to ask Carol's Family Carolers to come up. And after that, several members of Carol's family will offer remembrances. So please.
Thanks for making a part of this, guys. We're going to sing the first verse a little slow and quiet, and then we'll bring you guys in with the guitars on the second verse, right into the chorus. As I went walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. I've roamed and rambled, I've followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. The sun was shining as I was strolling, and the wheat fields waving, and the dust clouds rolling. The fog was lifting, my horse was chanting. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking, I saw a sign there, and on that sign said, no trespassing, but on the other side, it didn't say nothing. That side was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. Nobody living can never stop me as I go walking that freedom highway. Nobody living can ever make me turn back. This land was made for you and me.
I think we're all set.
I'm not used to speaking into a microphone. And I had, if you see in the program, Bennett said someone was going to read for me. And then I found this on Carol's countertop, written by Eleanor Roosevelt. It said, "You must do that which you think you cannot do." So here I am. I thought I couldn't do it, but I'm going to do it. First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming, and church for this beautiful facility, and for all the Solidarity singers and everyone, all these people, so many people I couldn't name. There are too many people to name who put this all together and spent so many hours working on it as Carol's tribute. And to our sadness, it's become her memorial service. And I know now how delighted she is through everything that she's heard today, through all the people that have spoken. And as a sister, I knew she did all these things, but I didn't realize how much of an impact she had made on the world until the day after she died, there was an obituary. And I'm like, asked Bennett, I said, how do they know all this stuff about her? I'm like, I thought the family wrote the obituary. Anyway, so I said, boy, they covered everything, stuff I didn't even know about. But anyway, it made me realize that she was a lot more than just a sister to me, that she had such a great influence on so many people and was very important. And when I think of Carol, I think of two words in particular: devoted. As you could see, her family's here today to support her, and half of these people are not her family, they are her in-laws. She moved to Manasquan because the family that sang around the table was my husband's family. And these people, we all sang around the table with the grandfather, and he passed away, and then we've continued to sing around the table and out in front of the beach and just about everywhere we go, around the bonfires at home. And Carol was there for every holiday, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, because she moved here to be near this family. I couldn't have gotten through the past 3 weeks without them, or the past 2 years without them. So she was devoted to her family, and obviously devoted to the cause for justice in the world and to the unions. The other word to describe Carol was determined. That's silly to even say, because everybody knows that. And she was determined to be here today. And the last week in the hospital, they brought me out in the hall and they said, we feel like Carol is in denial, because they had told her everything that was done that could be done. And she still thought she was coming here today. And I did too, until they brought me out in the hall and said that to me. And they said, you need to tell her to call in the family. You know, it's time to do that. To call her friends, whoever she wants to see or talk to do that this week. So she still, you know, she finally, I think she started thinking, I guess so she started calling people. Some of you got calls from her. Some of you did not, but that doesn't mean she didn't care about you and love you. She just had X amount of time in a day. So when they finally came into her room, they asked me to come in the next morning, and they were all coming in, all the doctors and different people that had cared for her, and they were going to let her know that she was on so much oxygen. She had wished to die at home, and she could not, because they told her if she left the hospital, she wouldn't make it home on that amount of oxygen. She had to have that oxygen. So she accepted that she wasn't going to be able to go home. And so when the doctor said to her, you know, this is near the end, so Carol goes, oh no, I won't get to vote. And everybody in the room goes, what would be the first thing that would go through your mind if somebody told you that you're probably going to pass away this week? Would you go, oh no, I'm not going to get to vote? Anyway, and one of the techs was doing something on her bed, and she stuck her head up and she goes, why am I not surprised? Anyway, Carol really affected the whole Hope Center where she was for her treatment for 2 years, and Hackensack, the stem cell floor. In Hackensack, they said, Carol is our prize stem cell recipient. She was only in bed 2 days. Up the third day, we were walking the halls. That's very unusual. And then, same thing, she came home, we'd walk a mile. We started walking like half a mile, then we'd walk a mile, we'd walk 2 miles. She'd get tired, but she was determined she was not gonna quit being out there. And again, all this time, she's still continuing to do her job as president of the union. So, at the last day, the people that had cared for her at Hope Center, where she went to get her infusions, that morning, at least 12, maybe more, came down to her room. Now they walk, I don't know if y'all are familiar with Neptune, it's not like right next door. You have to walk down quite a ways. They all came to her room to say goodbye to her. And I just thought it was amazing that she had affected that many people in that short a time at the hospital. And then the last day, she shared with Bennett, Montague, and Karen. Karen, are you here? I'm not sure. Anyway.
Over here.
No, Karen, her roommate. When she joined, when she was a social worker in downtown Camden, she made a friend named Karen, who is still her friend, and she had come to see Carol that day. And she knew Carol from a social worker up until when Bennett knew her. So Bennett was like asking, preparing some history of Carol, and so Karen helped fill in, what she did from social worker up until when Bennett knew her. And then she was getting really tired, and she had refused hospice that morning, and the doctors kept, every time I go out in the hall, they said, have you talked to her about hospice again? And she really wasn't in any pain. She just was having trouble breathing. So I said, okay, I'll go back and talk to her. Well, Montague and Karen left the room, and so I told Carol, I said, they really want hospice to come in now, and so she finally said, okay. So when I went back out, Karen said the last thing they asked Carol, they said, what can we do for you? And she said, make the world a better place. So my challenge to you today is to honor Carol. We can't compare ourselves to Carol. Her amazing energy, a lot of us don't have. Her enthusiasm, a lot of us don't have. But we can still do what we can. And one of her favorite quotes was Desmond Tutu. It says, do your little bit of good where you are. It's those little bits of good put together that overwhelm the world. So let's, in honor of Carol, go overwhelm the world, and may peace be with you, and may we all have a dose of Carol power to encourage us and to inspire us to do that which we are able. Peace.
Good job, Mom.
We decided to go in this order. Obviously, Mom, being the most important of us, should have gone after us. But we decided in making sure we maintained our coherency and ability to keep it together throughout the whole speech. We wanted her to go first. So, and they said they needed a beat. So that puts me up next. I'm Jason Woolley, Carol's sister's oldest son, and I'm brother to Kate and Emily. The little bit I want to tell you guys about is a short story about right after Carol passed, we had all tried to get up here in time to say goodbye to her, but it kind of accelerated there at the end a lot faster than we expected. So a part of our grieving process and a part of our way to kind of wrap our brains around the fact that it happened so quickly was to go to her house and just be surrounded by her one more time, spending time in her home, because her energy is throughout that place. And those of you that have been to her house, that deck and the view off the back of her house was emblematic of her inner peace that she used to fight through all that turmoil that she brought to every piece of justice that she was fighting for. So it reminded me of when that other part of her reminds me of when she's out in the ocean. She would always swim just past the break and just lay back and float. And it was incredible to see someone with that much determination and energy to know when she needed to take a beat and decompress and re-energize herself using something as simple as the ocean. But yeah, shortly after she passed, we were at the house, and you know, it just felt good being surrounded by her energy. And I spent that whole day looking through just decades of albums, of photo albums. And it struck me that in those photo albums, there were no pictures of things or places. It was all people. Everything that she took pictures of, it was either her with someone else or someone else. And there's very few, very pictures. So you'd think over decades, she would have seen something that, oh, that's interesting, and taken a picture of it. But it was always the people she was fundamentally focused on. That reminded me of a misinterpretation I had of Carol when I was younger. We spent every holiday, just about every single holiday together, unless she was, you know, in a foreign country fighting for someone else's rights. And she came to all of our landmark events as kids, whether it be dance recitals or swim meets or graduations, birthdays. And so my sisters and I, we always felt very loved by her, and we never saw her without like just tons of hugs and kisses and gifts and just so much love poured out of her to us. And we also got to had the many opportunities to see her love for debate, which she clearly loved to do with her sister. And so, you know, that's a natural thing. You know, it was easy to write that off as a kid as, oh, they're just, you know, there are two people who have the same genealogical disposition to argue with each other. And as having, you know, being a brother of two younger sisters and a teenage boy and a mom, I, you know, had plenty of personal experiences with that as well. So it wasn't until later in life I realized that it wasn't just like she didn't like just to argue. Watching her protest and hearing of her many adventures overseas and around the country, particularly when she went out west to fight against the pipeline expansion. I remember it was really cold, and I was really concerned. I was working at a gear shop, I think at the time, outdoor gear shop. And I was like, do you have all the equipment you need? And she was just so excited. Like, the more adversarial the conditions, the more excited she was to go. It was like it made it more fun. And so, you know, I realized that it wasn't that she didn't just like to argue. It was her love of her family and for us and wanting the best for us that was just kind of spilling out of her in those arguments. It was not, her root position was not, her driving concern was not the argument. It was, she wanted to make sure things were right for everybody around her. And that's what those pictures kind of brought me back to, was that every picture was of someone she loved, someone she was fighting for, that she knew couldn't necessarily fight for themselves. And it kind of proved to me that she was not argumentative, she was loving. She was not obstinate, she was passionate. And she was loyal to fight for those she loved, and strangers she knew could not or needed to be empowered to fight for themselves. And that's the part of Carol that I want to keep alive and carry with me through the rest of my life, is showing those around me in the best way I can that I will advocate for them, fight for them, be loyal to the ideas of what I know to be true, that we all need to love each other and be passionate about the well-being and balance between all living things.
Well said, brother. I'm Emily. I am Robin's youngest daughter, Carol's niece. I think we all know that Aunt Carol was a fighter. She was really good at it. Nobody wanted to find themselves on the other side of a debate with Carol, because odds are she would have gotten the last word. I think we all inherited a bit of that fighting spirit, Carol power. But Aunt Carol was also a defender of peace, of justice, a defender of our earth and humanity. She was a force to be reckoned with. Aren't we all so lucky that we got to have her fighting on our side for a little while? Thank you, Aunt Carol, for your strength, your generosity, your support and encouragement, but mostly for your fierce and constant love.
Okay, all right. I shouldn't have gone last. Thank you all for this. She would have would have been beaming. This is so joyful, and she would have absolutely loved this. Thank you. Okay, so I'm Kate. I am Carol's niece, and I am the daughter of Carol's sister, Carol's little sister. We are a family of sisters. Carol and Mom had each other. Emily and I have each other. And now we have the task of raising the next generation of sisters. As you see here, we each have 2 girls. We got a lot of girl power in the family. There is nothing like a sister. No one in the world knows how to push your buttons like a sister. Mom says that Carol and her fought like cats and dogs when they were little. Sorry. But I had the gift of watching them and their relationship when they got older. They still fought like cats and dogs, but it was with a real love and commitment. A sister tells you like it is. They hold you accountable for your actions, and they challenge your thoughts. Carol and Mom were best friends, and she carried that love to us and treated us as her own. A few years ago, Emily made these bracelets for all of us sisters. They call them the sister bracelet. I wear mine proudly. It gets me through hard days, and we absolutely love them. During Carol's last hospital visit, her little sister was there beside her, holding her hand until her last breath. Mom later told us that she had taken all her jewelry off. Carol had amazing jewelry, I think. Except for her sister bracelet. In true Carol fashion, she defiantly kept that bracelet on until her last breath. I think Carol had a lot of love in her life, but I really do think that one of her greatest loves was between her and her sister. She was a model for me to be the big sister, and I get to carry that on to our little girls as well. So, I know Carol's listening. I just want to tell you that we love you and we miss you, and that we'll take care of your little sister until you guys meet again.
sing Carol's favorite song, Imagine. So just give us a moment to get set up and collect ourselves, I'm afraid. Somebody left their keys to a Honda on the entrance table. They have a red key tag. If you can satisfy me they're yours, I'll give them to you. No, I don't know what I'll do with them. Okay. A lot of people don't remember that Carol Gay ran for Congress against Chris Smith, who certainly deserves to be defeated. But he's been managing to hang in there. Well, I won't talk about Chris Smith. But our next speaker was one of the most active volunteers at her campaign and a longtime friend of Carol's, Ed Ziprich. He's a former councilman for many years in Red Bank and continues to be quite active. So, Ed.
Thank you, Bennett. Good afternoon. I served in many activist roles before I was elected to the Red Bank Council in 2008. So please bear with me with my historical recitation as it leads to how Carol and I became friends. In 2004, I was a supporter of then Vermont Governor Howard Dean for president. And because I was newly retired, I had time to devote to his New Jersey primary campaign effort to take our country back. His campaign ended quickly and became Democracy for America, or DFA, which was a training organization. I became the chair of Monmouth DFA chapter, and DFAers were passionate about taking our country back from the Bushes and the GOP. Robin Kinlan served as the DFA chair at Ocean County, and Robin and I became fast friends and cohorts for democracy. As we continued to organize and board the old school bus called the Bus for Change, we moved around New Jersey protesting and activism-ing. We built our network and met people around the state who would become friends and compatriot activists. In the summer of 2006, Robin and I had urged our respective DFA group members to attend a large rally at the UUCMC in Lincroft in support of marriage equality. The place was packed. Robin maneuvered through the crowd to find me. She was holding onto a blonde woman with a southern drawl who she was dying to introduce me to. We finally got together and she said, "Ed, this is Carol Gay. She's running for Congress against Chris Smith in the 4th. I responded, "Hi, Carol. I'm Ed, and I really am delighted to meet you. Thanks for stepping up to run, and how can I help?" She told me about how Chairman Wyatt Earp had encouraged her to run as a Labor candidate. We shared our contact information and promptly set up a meeting to get the campaign off the ground. Carol approached this race enthusiastically and energetically, typical of Carol. She had a campaign manager and a treasurer. We organized a field team to go out and knock on doors through the district. Our team was comprised of some brilliant women who would have given their left arms to get Carol elected. Dr. Karina Wilkinson and a nurse midwife, Kim Drewist, were her field coordinators. And as you would expect, Carol tapped into her pool of academicians and friends in labor to help better organize and create her campaign messaging. It was networking at its best. We worked throughout the summer and fall, walking door to door and talking to folks about why Carol Gay was the best candidate. The fun part of Carol's campaign was the people. And we all bonded, we worked well together, we became friends, and Carol was responsible for that. I remember one fundraising event held at a friend's home in Trenton. It was called Gays for Gay. How clever is that? I helped hang a big banner across the front of the house. Anyway, Carol even managed to get on TV on the Colbert Report in episode 162 in a segment called Better Know Your District, Carol Gay, D, from New Jersey's 4th. Election day came, and Carol had decided her campaign should be holed up in New Brunswick, at the New Brunswick Hilton, with Senator Menendez's campaign. You can't win them all. JP and I booked a couple of hotel rooms, and our campaign team decorated the rooms with Carol Gay for Congress signs and campaign literature. And we all gathered there as the polls were closing. Carol gave a rousing speech to her volunteers and expressed her deep gratitude to us all. We were optimistically hopeful that she would win. But alas, I'll talk about Chris Smith now. But alas, Smith was the incumbent, who is still in a safe seat with virtually no legislation under his belt after 42 years in Congress. When Carol and I would meet for brunch, breakfast, lunch, whatever, over the years since, she used to get crazed over the fact that he passed only one piece of legislation in each year he was in office. And for those of you who knew Carol's work ethic, well, she wasn't called the Energizer Bunny for nothing. She was passionate. And to quote from Bennett's beautiful obituary, she was an indefatigable activist. Carol was fondly known as the Energizer Bunny of the New Jersey labor movement. The bosses were always, the bosses weren't always so kind. They called her a union thug due to her vigorous efforts to prevent buses carrying scabs from crossing picket lines. How dare they? Over more than 50 years of activism, Carol developed a lengthy rap sheet. She was arrested more often than she could recall for engaging in nonviolent protest and civil disobedience for labor and other causes. Each time she would tell me she got arrested again, I would think, wow, what an amazing congresswoman Carol would have been. Carol was awarded an honorary PhD by Rutgers in 2005, and in 2012, the Labor Council honored Carol for always fighting for the 99%. Carol was a fighter. She wrote me in June, She wrote me in June and sent me a photo of the two of us on election night 2006. She told me of her health battle and asked me to call her. A couple of weeks later, we connected. On August 16th, she invited me to speak at this event. That was to be her honorarium. I told her I would be honored. She assured me Bennett would be in touch with specifics. She asked me again on August 17th if I was still councilman so Bennett could use the appropriate title. And on August 22nd, I texted her and got no reply. I did hear from Bennett, and he informed me that sadly our friend was gone. Today was supposed to be a day of tribute to a beautiful human being, a person whose passion was for all of humanity. Carol Elaine Gay fought for the betterment of humanity and for causes that made people's lives better. She was our champion and the epitome of what labor fights for in the workplace, for workers' rights. In her final note to me, she said, "I've been battling leukemia for almost the past 2 years. Give me a call when you can," and gave me her number. Love to you and JP. You guys are the best. I never thought that we would be together today, not to do anything more than pay tribute to a woman of substance who fought her whole life for others. I plan to be with Carol here on the 21st of September to toast and roast her and honor her for all she gave of herself for the betterment of humankind. Instead, we gather at this honorarium for Carol in her memory to thank her for all that she fought for and for fighting the last 2 years of her life for her beloved family and those who she was delighted to call friend. I extend my deepest sympathies on behalf of JP and our family to Carol's family and her beloved friends and colleagues. I know she is singing with Dottie and other members of the Solidarity Singers in heaven above. And Carol, I am happy to have known you. You are and always will be the best. Rest well, dear friend. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ed. As some of you know, in addition to leading the Solidarity Singers, I'm a lawyer. And as Ed's talk suggested, Carol has been a frequent client of mine. We're gonna sing "Have You Been to Jail for Justice?" And I'm almost ashamed to lead this song because although I very frequently represent demonstrators arrested for all sorts of causes in New Jersey, I always step out of the picket line before the arrest so I can represent them. Yeah. So I've never been. But a lot of our Solidarity Singers have. And Have You Been to Jail for Justice? This might be a bit hard for you to sing along with, but I think it's helpful to have the words so you can get them all. There are quite a few. We change one word. Now, Carol was the most active activist I know, with the possible exception of our next speaker. It's a pleasure to introduce the chair of the People's Organization for Progress, Larry Ham. Anyone you like. It won't work. You got someone in the sound booth who'll make sure it's on.
Power to the people. Good afternoon. First of all, on behalf of the People's Organization for Progress, I want to express our deepest sympathies and condolences to you on the passing of Carol, who was not just a member, a leader of the IUC and the CWA and other organizations, but who was also a member of the People's Organization for Progress. We will miss her greatly. Carol Gay was a leader in her own right. She wasn't the kind of leader that needed to be invited. When we had a demonstration, we didn't have to call Carol. We had a demonstration, Carol was there, and I knew that Carol had to be one of the speakers. But Carol was a great speaker. She was a great orator. You know, I always had reservations about following Carol Gay to speak because she had such clarity. She had a very clear vision of politics and a very deep commitment to a vision to transform this country. And she was able to express that vision in a way that people could relate to. Like, to be truthful, if Carol wasn't an activist, I would have wanted to know Carol Gay. I mean, she was a really nice person. She had a wonderful, warm personality. I don't know, I knew Carol that way. Maybe the family members knew her. I heard some things up here today. But for us, and let's speak frankly, Carol joined the People's Organization for Progress, which is an overwhelmingly African, but not exclusively African-American organization. But she did not have any reservations about that or being amongst us because she knew one very important thing, that if we want to build the kind of movement that must be built in this country to transform this country, then we have to fight racism and white supremacy. She understood that. And she understood that she, as a white person, had a responsibility to stand up and speak out about racism. I saw Carol Gay in the spirit of John Brown. I know many of you may know about John Brown, some of you may not. John Brown was an abolitionist. He was a white abolitionist who fought for the abolition of slavery. In fact, he led a raid on Harper's Ferry because he wanted to build an armed struggle just a few years before the Civil War. He understood that at some point, people would have to take up arms to defeat the slave masters. And he spoke with power about the need to abolish slavery and about the equality of human beings. And Carol Gay was in that spirit, and we need more Carol Gays in our movement here in the United States of America. Carol Gay brought the People's Organization for Progress into the struggle for Medicare for all. And at that time, we weren't even saying Medicare for all. We were still saying universal health care. This was in the 1990s. And I know all of us love Carol who are in this room today, in this beautiful church today. But if we really love Carol, let us make Medicare for all a reality in the United States of America. Here in the United States, the richest country in the world, the federal minimum wage is still $7.25 an hour. Those are slave wages. If we love Carol, let us make a living wage a reality in the United States of America. Here in the United States, the richest country in the world, young people don't want to get married because it costs too much money. They don't want to have children because it costs too much money. Because when they come out of college, they get a job where they might bring home $2,000 a month, but they have to pay half of that to the banks for student loans. If we love Carol, let us eliminate student debt and make higher education free in the United States of America. Previous speakers were here before you today. I think it was Hetty, another Carol Gay type person. Hetty, who said we live in dark times. I mean, imagine we are actually seeing before our very lives the things for which we've struggled for the last 50 years being taken away. Our children will have fewer rights than we have. If we love Carol, let us bring back Roe v. Wade. Let us fight for women's equality. Let us fight for and make a reality of women's right to reproductive rights. How do you express love? You know, we all in here today, as I look in the audience, and most of us have hair like mine. Our hair is gray. And so we're at the other end of our journey now. Carol ran her race. Many of us as young people, it's almost expected, right, that when you go to college, you're going to protest. But the question becomes, how many of us will actually run this race to the end? How many of us who embraced those humanistic values when we were in college and when we were young adults and when we still had the fire of idealism in our lives, how many of us will carry that vision through to the end of our lives? How many of us are strong enough to, in fact, fight for a vision of a better world that we ourselves may not actually get to experience. Is there a love greater than that? That you would struggle to make life better for people not only that you don't know, but are not even born. That, to me, is the highest level of humanitarianism, and that's what Carol Gay exhibited in her life. So let me close out, because they say 5 minutes. They called me 3 times and said 5 minutes. You know, I was caught up in something to come here today, because the same time as this event, my daughter's having her baby shower. I'll be a grandfather for the 2nd time. And my daughter lives in Queens, and I had to choose, am I gonna go to Queens? Because if I go to Queens, I'm not gonna make this. I chose to be here today because this moment is so important. I will see my grandchildren. It's my 2nd grandchild. But lastly, in just finishing this up, Carol Gay was with us. You know, I was going back looking at the pictures. I have so many pictures of Carol. When we were marching against police brutality after the murder of George Floyd, Carol Gay was there. When we were marching against racial violence, Carol Gay was there. When we were marching against the war in Iraq, Carol Gay was there. And if Carol had been well, she would have been marching with us for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and an arms embargo against Israel. She marched with us for reparations for African Americans. Can you imagine that? She marched with us and spoke at that rally. We're going to miss Carol. We're going to miss her so much because she was one of a kind. But we have to bring forward, brothers and sisters, a new generation of Carols, a new generation of freedom fighters. At some point, whether we like it or not, we will pass the baton. So let us do everything we can to build this movement. You know, we have this struggle over here and this struggle over there. The truth of the matter is that in our individual group, we're not going to win. Ultimately, we're going to have to build a multiracial movement for equality, justice for all in the United States of America, to build a multiracial democracy in which all of us can live together and prosper. Long live the memory of Carol Gay.
The best way to follow Larry is for us all to sing a song together. This is "May the Work That I Have Done Speak for Me." And the third, it always has the same line 3 times, well, twice. But then it says, "If I fall short of my goal, someone else will take a hold. May the work that I have done speak for me." So I think the words are up there. I can't see from here. They're out of my view. Okay.
May the work that I have done
unfortunately, we weren't able to invite everybody to speak up here that we would have liked. And we know that many of you have important memories and thoughts and things you'd like to say about Carol. So we're going to have an open mic and just kind of line up, or Karen will bring it around. Please try and not speak for more than 2 minutes, so as many people as possible can speak. Is it on?
Yes, it's on.
Okay. So, I don't know, whoever wants to volunteer, get Karen's attention and we'll come to you. There's someone back there.
Hi, my name's Bill Henning. I just want to say two things. March of 22, Carol calls me and says there's going to be a peace vigil in Lanoka Harbor, if you know where that is. It was frickin' cold. We got out there about noon. I think I lasted an hour and a half, and Carol was still there. It was freezing. I did not know of Carol's health challenges. The last time she reached out to me was July 8th, looking for somebody's contact information that she had lost. But one last thing I want to say about Carol that nobody in this room, perhaps, would mention. I played golf with Carol Gay.
My name is Joe Garlotti. I live in Hyde Park. 2019, my sister Maria Garlotti died of cancer. I have 3 boys and 1 girl. And I always live with my parents. I'm with my parents. I go to church every Sunday. When I wake every day, it's cold. But when my sister died, it's strange. I go to funeral march. My sister died 2019, and my sister died, and my mother. I have 3 boys and 1 girl. I go to church Sunday, and I said, all these people are nice people in the church. And I go to church every Sunday, and that lady, if I go out, I would pray for, we'll do that march. So I believe that the Bill of Rights, because I go to church every Sunday. Amen.
I'm Lucy. I live nearby, was a longtime friend of Carol's, and the one thing I want to remember about her was the Summit of the Americas in Quebec City in 2000. And of course, the governments had their summit, and the People's Summit was actually, thank goodness, convened by the Quebecers who were unimpressed by the Canadian government. And we marched and we climbed, and we climbed, and we marched, and we met, and the governmental, military, and other forces of repression dumped so forking much tear gas on us that it got into the HVAC system of the building where the summit meeting, President Bush and the rest of them was being held, and shut them down. And so Carol and Hank Front and Lynn, of blessed memory, and Lynn and I were among the group climbing down the face of the mountain as the others, as the powers that be were being evacuated from their own tear gas. And that was, for me, a symbol of how we flip the tables.
My name is Ruth Callahan, and Mary Ellen Marino is my mother, a very, very dear friend of Carol's. They loved each other dearly. They were arrested together internationally, and I am so grateful. Carol holds such a special place in my heart because She helped me do things for my mother that I couldn't do alone. She was an incredible fighter, and she helped me get my mom's license away finally, which needed to happen. I mean, among other things, she has the biggest heart, and I miss her. And so I just want to thank all of you for sharing stories and for keeping the fight going on.
Hi, I'm John Shu. My first memory of Carol was protesting in Washington, D.C., outside Mitch McConnell's office. It was good times. I can say that, I was really nervous about getting arrested, but she was not. And listening to her family, it's kind of funny because she was trying to tell the organizers how to do things better. I was like, oh, who is she? But yeah, that's before I understood like all the experience that she really had. My last experience of her was maybe a month and a half ago. It was at a picket line. I couldn't believe it. It was right here in Edison at the picket line with the striking workers at Silgan Containers, and I was like, oh, surprised to see her, and I was actually really happy that I was actually able to catch her before she left and get to talk to her a little bit. And she was tired that day, but she had to be out there at that picket line, and that's a great last memory of her for me. I can share another story about right here in Highland Park. We were going to a Frank Pallone event, and we were trying to bother Frank Pallone about Medicare for All because he does not support Medicare for All. And Carol started speaking and making a commotion, and Pallone goes, "Oh, Carol, is that you?" And yes, she really left a lasting impression, and yeah, we love her so much. So thanks.
Hi, my name's Darlene. I'm with the POP organization. The first time I met Carol, and I saw a video of her being arrested. So when I saw her again, I said, "You're my hero. You're arrested." And she said, "If you want to come along, just make sure you have bail money." That's my impression.
My name is Matt Shapiro. I'm president of the New Jersey Tenants Organization, and my friend Connie Pascal, who was the go-to person for tenants' rights and legal services of New Jersey for, well, forever almost. He lives in Massachusetts, so he couldn't be here, and he asked me to read a statement that he wrote. When I think of Carol Gay, the first thing I see is the bright smile and warm greeting she always gave me whenever we met, which seemed to be at every protest or march or hearing or gathering I was able to attend. Right after that memory comes another one. Carol showing the way, her voice raised in protest, sign or banner held high, arm in arm with people who shared her vision, never tiring, certainly never giving up. Carol was one of the most passionate and inspiring and all-encompassing and unwaveringly committed advocates I have ever known. Even though there was only one of Carol, she was ubiquitous. She was everywhere. If there was a cause that could make people's lives better, end injustice and promote social justice, advance the march of labor, protect and preserve the environment, defeat racism and discrimination of all types, expand health care, end homelessness, promote decent, affordable housing, end war and oppression, and anything and everything that supported justice and peace and community and compassion. Carol actively supported it, dedicating her time and energy and heart to make it happen. There was nothing passive about Carol Gay, and I greatly admired her because of that. She believed wholeheartedly that the arc of the moral universe bends toward justice, and was ever ready to give it a little help, a little nudge, or a big push if needed. Everyone who knew Carol will miss seeing her smiling face and hearing her encouraging, southern-tinged voice, and her singing voice as well. But I believe something of Carol's heart and spirit rubbed off on people who came in meaningful contact with her, no matter how long-standing or fleeting. For me, she embodied the resolve expressed by Tom Joad in The Grapes of Wrath. Then it don't matter. I'll be all around in the dark. I'll be everywhere. Wherever you can look, wherever there's a fight, I'll be there. And so she will. Wherever there's a fight for people, a fight for justice, a fight for a better life and a better world, Carol Gay will be there. In the hearts and souls and voices of those who struggle, she will be there.
Hi, my name's Jay Arena. I'm involved in various different groups. But, you know, with Carol just passing, what happens with a lot of great activist people will say after they pass that I marched with so-and-so, but I am proud to say I marched with Carol Gay a number of times, and I was just looking at a photograph where she was out at the ICE concentration camp that the Democrats ran in Essex County, Joe DiVincenzo, Deportation Joe, as we call him, and she was out there on the front lines, and I'm very proud to remember that I was there shoulder to shoulder with her. But I was also thinking of Carol recently, before I heard that she was sick, because of the struggle that I've been involved with in my own union to get them to take a stand against the US-backed genocide in Gaza. And I was thinking back to Carol. She was always fighting the enemy, going out to the free trade agreement in Quebec, you know, fighting the powers that be. But she also confronted the so-called progressive groups within our movement. And she had to, before it was popular, right, she took a stand around Palestine within the union movement. And she paid a price for that. So I took strength from Carol's battle to fight within my own union. And that's one thing I'm going to take, that we got to fight the enemy, but also within our movements we got to struggle. And that's something that we have to remember, that Carol Gay had the courage to take on those powers as well.
Hi, I'm Terry Seuss. I lived many years in Newark, and Newark is a very progressive town. It's a no-brainer for so many people. They fall on the right side of so many issues. However, it gets dumped on a lot. And back in the mid-2010s, Walmart wanted to come to Newark as a redevelopment project. And Newarkers did not want that to happen and organized against it. And instead was floated an idea that ShopRite come to Newark because there's no supermarket in the middle of Newark. So that plan got put forward as an alternative. People fought hard for that. And I believe that the Industrial Union Council and the work Carol did really spoke to the Progressive Council people and helped push that over for Newark. Newarkers won that, but Carol was there, and that was a major, major accomplishment, and we so appreciate the work she did in many, many realms. But when you see that ShopRite, you're going to know Carol Gay was part of that struggle, and we love that.
First, I just want to say, Bennett, those are my keys. I'll pick them up. The keys. I just wanted very briefly to share one moment I had with Carol Gay. It was during the protests around water rights and Native Americans, and I rode down in a car to the protests with Montague Saba, one of the Solidarity singers, and Carol. And one of the things I wanted to do before I died was to get arrested at least once. But I had no intention that day of getting arrested when I started out, but they talked me into it. So I gladly went off to TD Bank with both Carol, Montague, Ted Glick, who's also here today, and we sat down in the bank and refused to get up and were taken off to jail. I was assured that we would be going all off together in a paddy wagon, and you had a lot of fun singing and doing that sort of thing, but we all went in separate patrol cars. But it was still a very memorable day for me. I'll never forget it. And I'm glad I got to do that before I died.
Hey everyone, I'm Luke Kimball, Director of New Labor. We're an organization that educates, organizes, fights for better conditions of work, mostly low-wage Latino immigrant workers. I'm not here by myself, I'm here with Yanel. I see Faustino, Asuncion, Reynalda, Hermania, and Xiomara were here, but they left. To us, you know, Carol is the walking embodiment of solidarity. Like, she is there for us, be it wage theft, right, be it temp worker rights, domestic worker rights, vigils. She was there, she showed up, right? Medicare for All, she got us involved in that as well. You know, we honored her back in 2012 for fighting for the 99% always, right? Not being de jure. In fact, we actually have her voice starting off one of our videos because it's that telling. So ella realmente era lo que representaba el solidaridad para nosotros. Entonces ella siempre estuvo ahí, que sea contra robo de salarios, para la gente que trabaja por agencia doméstica, cuidado médico para todos. Ella siempre estuvo presente. Hasta tenemos ella en un video que demarca lo que somos nosotros. Su voz está ahí. Entonces honramos a ella porque realmente luchaba para todo el 99% de la población. Siempre estuvo presente ahí.
How you doing, folks? My name is Andy Coleman. Can you guys hear me? President of the Bus for Progress. I'm here with Kathy and Marianne. Before the Bus for Progress, maybe you guys have seen it, red, white, and blue bus that would drive around for progressive values. But there was a predecessor, the Bus for Change. I am wearing my Carol Gay 2006 for Congress shirt. I saw another one right over here. My friend over here has one. We decorated the predecessor to the Bus for Progress, which was an old beat-up Dodge. We covered it with Carol Gay signs, and we drove all around Christmas District for Carol with Ed. We met some of Carol's family, Robin, and with Diane and others, and it was a lot of fun. I often think to myself, what would have happened if Carol had won that election? She would have made AOC seem tame and quiet. And I also want to say real quick that it was very often driving the bus with Carol sitting behind me. She rode with us for hundreds of miles. I would hear her driving through a town. I would hear her say, "Oh, the police in this town they're terrible." Or, "The police in this town are really great." I'd look back at Carol and I'd say, "Were you arrested in this town, Carol?" And she'd say, "Yeah, I was arrested in this town." We're going to miss Carol so much. Our whole community is going to miss her so much. It was an honor to have her on the bus.
I just want to say that Aunt Carol was the kindest person, and she was a kind aunt to me.
Hi, Ingrid Hill from the People's Organization for Progress. I had a chance to talk to Carol a number of times, even towards the end. She was one of the most genuine people that I had ever met. She loved people, and because she loved people, she was able to do the kind of work that she did. I mean, one of the things, and she was joyous in her love of people. I remember her getting arrested at Cory Booker's office. And she was just smiling as they were carting her off into the paddy wagon. And I asked her, I said, Carol, what do we need to do? She said, don't worry about it. I'm going to be out in a couple of hours. So one of the things I think is her spirit. Her spirit is going to be with us forever, to the family. Thank you for having her share her life with us. And she always talked about you. Pictures, she would post pictures of the family, the nieces. And I guess in the loss of Carol, I think it forces us to do even more in terms of the work that we're doing. And then we know that we have her spirit at our back. That's fun.
Hi, my name is Mike. I was lucky enough to serve on the IUC with Carol. And I just wanted to say to the family especially that it was an honor, and my own family knows of Carol through me, and I think I can speak for most people here who had time with Carol, that they brought that home to their family. So I want you to know that Carol is with so many people through that, and just a wonderful, wonderful times.
Hi, my name is Matt Smith. I'm the New Jersey Director for Food and Water Watch, and Carol Gay was one of our closest collaborators in our fight for environmental health and a better, healthier planet for future generations. Two things that I will always remember and value about Carol. The first is every time I called Carol with what was admittedly most of the times a fairly wingnut idea to go do something, you know, rather rash, Carol always listened with an open ear and was the first to support, you know, a young radical at the time in his thinking about what kind of actions we need to be taking to fight the powers that be. And that included her joining me in a caravan out to Standing Rock in the middle of a blizzard to stand with water protectors in their fight against this pipeline company and the ongoing theft of their ancestral lands. It also was Carol Gay walking in a medical boot from Newark, New Jersey to Red Bank, New Jersey, 50 miles against environmental justice in our backyards. The second thing I'll always remember about Carol is how much she did talk about her family, her nieces, her nephews, her grandnieces, like that was clearly so important to Carol, and something that I will always take forward is, you know, Carol could unleash such wrath against the evildoers in this world, and in the very next breath express so much love and care and compassion for the people in her world. And that balance is so important and something that I will always try and take forward from Carol.
All right, we're going to have to end this portion of the program. We're sorry, because we're going to plant a tree in Carol's honor, and we would like everybody to join us. But I'm going to take the privilege of the mic, since I did all the running around, and just share a very quick thing about Carol. I knew Carol as a young organizer. I was hired by District 1 of CWA to organize, and when I met Carol, she was so warm and welcoming, especially to like a fairly inexperienced union organizer coming in new to a big campaign. But the other thing about Carol, and this was about 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks before she passed, I'd been doing some work and getting arrested in New York, and so when I told her I'd gotten arrested in New York, she said, "Oh, did you have enough bail money?" And I was like, "Oh, no, in New York they don't ask you for bail money." She goes, "Oh, wow, that's really cool." So she said, "How many times have you been arrested?" And I said, "Well, we're doing actions like every 3 days, so I've been arrested like a lot, you know, in this period of time." And so she said to me, "Man, you are having all the fun." So that was Carol fighting to the end, and then, you know, as generous and warm and loving to us, and particularly you know, what Matt said is true. She always talked about her family, always talked about her nieces and nephews, and shared pictures and stories, and we are going to miss her like so much. But anyway, so you wanna,
All right, we're nearing the end of the program, but please stay for the final song. When we're done, there's going to be reception. I think they call it Fellowship Hall. And Carol had a lot of movement T-shirts and a lot of buttons and things. And her family have brought them, and they're for whoever wants to take them. So there are souvenirs. As many as you want, as long as they're there, you'll see them. We also have some light refreshments, so we're sorry that we had to cut the open mic off at some point, but you know, we can all share memories there. And immediately after this, those who want to participate, the church has allowed us to plant a Carol Gay Memorial tree in their front churchyard, and we're going to do that right afterwards. The reception will be still going when the tree planting is over, but you can take your choice when we go. The last song we're going to do, we're going to have a video lead it so that Carol can sing it with us. It's Solidarity Forever. I hope that we're not going to put the words up. I think you all know the words. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever, for the union makes us strong. It's the national anthem of the American labor movement, so I'd appreciate it if we could all stand, and then we'll turn on the video.
When the union's inspiration through the workers' blood shall run, there can be
video, there's more. Our guy in the booth got messed up. 1, 2, 3. Thank you all very much for coming. That video is available on YouTube as of now on Environmental Television, who helped us make it. So if you want to go to the tree planting, and we're going to be singing another song out there, please go through the front door of the church. And if you want to go to the reception without the tree planting, you can go through this entrance here.
Carol's tree is, you go out this door, turn right, and just a short distance.
Oh, you know the woman? Figured it out?
No, I don't know what happened. I have a feeling I might have left it somehow in the cave because I'd forgotten about it. When I went back, at some point today,